Well, it might have been a little bit foolish for me to take on this project, but I've looked at the schedules across. You know that I've ranked them, but now that I'm looking at the games, I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to go game by game predictions and tell people not only that, let's say, Florida State's going to be 11-1, but who are they going to lose to and march through the season. But see, this goes against my typical approach when it comes to a game like South Carolina, North Carolina State, where, man, I'm weighing this thing back and forth, and usually I don't pull the trigger until about 20 minutes before kickoff because I think it's going to be just that close. But I found myself this week going through the ACC and having to pull the trigger on this one. But, man, I think this is going to be an exceptional game and really turn one team with a quality win under their belt in the right direction. So you probably feel the same way about the closeness of calling this one, but has there been anything recently that makes you lean one way or the other or feel a little bit better about one side or the other?
No, there's not. And, there was a situation at North Carolina State this week with the suspension of the dismissal of the 2 players and the suspension of the 3 players for alleged, it was sexual assault, but the university called it athletic student conduct. I think student conduct. But they were 5 freshmen, and so it had no impact on it should not have an impact on the game. No, I'm with you. This is a game that has so many unknowns going into it. We don't really know. South Carolina's offense was still very up and down last year. There's at times against Florida and Clemson really struggled, and even in the first half of that Birmingham Bowl, there's so much expectation for this offense, but we don't really know. Let's wait and see. We're talking about running backs. We don't know if they're going to be as good as we thought they would be. The last couple times we've seen that defense, it's been moved up and down the field on them. Florida should have been up 35-0 at halftime. Clemson hung 56 on them. Western Carolina put up a bunch of yards and rushing some points on them. And then obviously we saw what South Florida did. So the defense is expected to take a step forward, but it may not be game one. So we don't know much about South Carolina going into this game. And then on the flip side of that, I don't know if there's a more inconsistent team in the country than North Carolina State, who's good enough to have Clemson basically beaten, if not for a missed chip shot field goal. They play Florida State within 4 points. But on the flip side of that, they lose to Boston College at home. They lose to East Carolina. This is a team that's Dave Doran, very, very up and up, very inconsistent throughout his tenure. So which North Carolina State team are you going to see to open the season? Are you going to see the one that had Clemson beat in Death Valley, or the one that gave up 33 points to East Carolina last year and lost?
And, Will, the MO for North Carolina State under Dorn in recent years to get to a bowl game has been just win 2 or 3 games in the ACC, sweep out of conference, and you go 6-6 or 7-5, and you land in a bowl game. But they don't have that luxury this year with South Carolina and Notre Dame on the non-conference schedule. So the non-conference has been beefed up for them by the ACC, forcing the Notre Dame game, and then they come up with this one, which they should play an SEC opponent. So I see this one as a good one, and it should be extremely interesting. So as you can hear, we get some great South Carolina insight from Will Gunter, 107.5 The Game. His show is the all-new Early Game. You can catch this conversation each and every week, Stitcher, Podbean, and iTunes. Just check out the audio there. Just search Mark Rogers TV, or, of course, subscribe to my YouTube channel at Mark Rogers TV. All right, Will, we appreciate the time, man.
You have a great weekend. It's here. Let's just say it's here and roll for it.